Hi, doctor. I'm a woman of 40 years. I have two kids. My problem is that in most of the time, I don't feel aroused, and even during sex, I don't reach climax. Yes, it happens that I have an orgasm, but it's once in a while. I wish to enjoy sex and be crazy about it, but it doesn't happen more often. But it happens when I'm giving myself pleasure. Please help. What can I do? All right, so a couple things here, young lady. I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is that some of this might be technique related, right? You can make yourself orgasm, but your partner can't. Some of it is technique related, so we got to work on your partner's technique, but also we got to be mindful of the fact that sometimes when you're with your partner, there may be certain things that are throwing you off, right? Whereas when you're with yourself and you're masturbating, it's just you. You don't have to focus on anything else. You're just there for pleasure. So sometimes it's a matter of being as present as you possibly can there. Now, when you've been with someone and you had two kids with them and you guys are moving on and you got the two kids in the other room and you're trying to make it happen, that in and of itself can be stressful, right? Because I think the last thing we want as parents is to be on your knees, bent over or anything like that, and to have your 2 year old or your 8 year old walk in on you. That's stressful in and of itself. So, one thing you always want to do is remember that fear suppresses the sex drive, right? So make sure that your doors are locked and that you aren't afraid that that thing is going to happen in and of itself. The next thing you have to keep in mind is that as time goes by, and it may be an age related thing, but it's also a time related thing. After you've been with someone long enough, you're in this routine. You got to make it happen. You got to get the kids where they need to go. You got to do your household chores and your duties and things like that. So it becomes much easier to not think about sex, right? Because you got all these other things that you're worried about. I caution you, if you have a child that's sleeping in between you guys every night, I caution you, if you have said, well, I don't really have that big of a sex drive, so it's not that big of a deal to me, and you haven't had sex in about a month, I caution you that that is a danger zone. It is dangerous because when one person is lacking sex in the relationship, it's just a matter of time before they either leave to go get some or they find a way to still stay and to get some from outside of the relationship. So what I'm really excited about that you wrote this question is because it lets me know that you recognize that there is a problem and that it needs to be fixed, right? So another thing, one question to follow up on, now that you have a low sex drive, did you have a vaginal delivery or did you have a C-section? Because two, sometimes the trauma from the baby passing through the passage, if you had a vaginal delivery, can interfere with some of the nerve function down there. But the great thing about women in sex drive and men in sex drive is that there are a few key tweaks that you can make that can help bring sensitivity back and bring pleasure back. So first thing for you, young lady, is I want you to communicate with your partner about the things that you do like and the things that you don't like. So since you can have an explosion when you have self-play, now what I want you to do is have your partner watch you during self-play, right? So instead of it just being self-play, masturbation, you take your vibrator in the bathroom afterwards to finish, I want you to bring your partner into that experience, right? Because if your partner is with you when you are masturbating, now they know exactly how to do it. And this is useful for men and women. See, because guys, you can go ahead and do yourself pretty quickly. And if you show your partner how to do that, now they know how to do it pretty quickly, but they've got to watch you do it first, right? And ladies, it's the same thing. If your partner watches you masturbate and self-pleasure, now they're learning where your parts are, your points are, and what you like, even the rhythm. Because it's not just about where is the clitoris or where do you want it placed. It's also about the rhythm that your partner is using. So for instance, if you like a slow and steady rhythm, but they're just like, it'll never happen, right? So that's why you have to be very clear with your partner about what you like. So you don't necessarily have to tell them, you can actually show them, because it's tough communicating this sometimes, right? So now that you've fixed the technique, Let's figure out how you can start thinking about sex more and throbbing while you're thinking about it. So, for gentlemen, I advocate that you keep a pump around. It's a tool. It's a way to train. It's useful, particularly after you hit 40. Now, for ladies, there is a clitoral version of a pump too. And what you want to actually do is you want to think about things that actually are going to turn you on. So, is this a book? Is this erotica? Is this an adult movie? Is it some music? Whatever it is that turns you on, then you want to be doing that at the same time as using a clitoral pump. A brand named Womanizer is a great clitoral pump. It's vibrating. It's got a little suction on the top of it. And what it actually does is it causes puffs of air and suction on the clitoris. And so if you're doing that while you're actually engaged in something that turns you on, what we'll eventually do is, if you're doing that 3 or 4 times a week to train, what you're eventually doing is bringing sensitivity back to the clitoral area, but you're also bringing blood flow and you're bringing moisture. So that's number 2. So you're actually going to physically be working on reviving the clitoral area, right? Number 3, you do want to check with your doctor to make sure that your hormones are intact. You do. Are you having hot flashes? Have things shut down? What's going on with your hormones? So that's another thing. The other thing that you want to think about is, just like we need to boost nitrates and nitric oxide and things like that in your guy's diet, you want to do the exact same thing. It's all blood flow. It's all nitric oxide. So both men and women, both of our sex response cycles and engorgement starts with nitric oxide production. And if ladies aren't creating nitric oxide production, it is hard for her clitoris to get engorged and to be throbbing. And it's also difficult to make moisture. So that's another thing. So then the other thing is, if you're suffering from vaginal dryness, which will also throw off your sex life, now you want to bring the moisture back. So one thing that I've noticed that's become really popular is taking probiotics for that. So you can take the probiotics to improve the bacteria in the vaginal area, but you also want to re-acidify the area. We talk about alkaline, like everything is so magical if it's alkaline. Well, that's, it's, some things are great alkaline, but the mucosa, the lining of the vaginal canal really needs to be it actually needs to be more acidic for the bacteria to thrive and do their part to make sure that moisture is present, right? So in order to do that, a good old-fashioned way to do that is put a little raw apple cider vinegar into the tub and then bathe in it. And what that actually is going to do is help reacidify the vaginal mucosa, the vagina, and now you can make more moisture, and it's just healthier tissue down there. Now, don't dump the whole bottle in there, because now you might burn yourself. And then afterwards, take a shower, because you don't want to go to bed, thinking you're about to get some, but you smell like vinegar, right? So go ahead and take a shower and freshen up afterwards. But that is a very quick glimpse of a nice recipe in order for you, young lady, to get your sex drive back. And then the other part of it is recognizing that sex with your partner, especially if you're married or in a committed relationship, should be like the gym. Like we all know we have to exercise to be healthy, right? And it may not necessarily be the top of your priority, but even when you're not doing it, in the back of your head, you know what I need? I know I need to move more. I know I need to exercise more. Sex, when you're in a committed relationship, is the exact same way. You have got to make a commitment to provide it in some way, shape, or form, or else the bitter energy is going to take over the relationship and take hold. And before you know it, things that weren't a problem before now are a problem. Well, he didn't used to complain about that. Well, yeah, but at the base of the complaint is really the lack of sex. So please make the time and the commitment to bring intimacy into your relationship, so that, when the bills are due, maybe there's a death in the family, whatever have you, you will have that strong physical connection to help make things just feel a little brighter. But when you're when the job sucks, the finances sucks, you're grieving, and then you don't have anyone that you can reach out to like hug and touch, who's supposed to be doing those things, it is a drag and it creates anger and resentment. So let's in 2023, let's make a commitment to our person, whoever that person is in our lives, that we're going to try to connect more in an intimate and a sexual way, so that we can, make this relationship into something really long term, instead of just a temporary holding spot for the next person who seemingly has a stronger appreciation for sex. Okay, great, awesome.